I want you to just think about your favorite movie for a second.
Okay.
Like, you sit down in the theater, the lights go down, and you watch it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You know for a fact that the actors are just, well, hitting their marks.
Right, they have a script.
Exactly. You know, the explosions are CGI. You know, the emotional soundtrack was added in a studio months later. You know, every single word they say was written by a screenwriter.
But you still watch it.
Right. You still eat your popcorn, you sit in the dark, and you willingly suspend your disbelief. Because, you know, the story is just that good.
It's entertaining.
Exactly. But what if I told you that on July 12th, 2026, when Lionel Messi broke 5 historic records, won a diamond-encrusted championship ring, and defeated England? What if I told you that outcome was decided in a boardroom months before anyone ever stepped on the grass?
It's a massive paradigm shift.
It really is. Today, our mission on this deep dive is to open up this huge stack of sources we've collected. We're talking investigative pieces, financial reports, all of it. And these sources claim that the 2026 World Cup was literally exactly like that movie.
Yeah.
That the spontaneous magic of a 90-minute football match is actually a heavily vetted $50 billion script.
And before we dive into all of that, I need to establish a really crucial ground rule for you listening.
Of course, yeah, we need to do this.
Because our source material today touches on some incredibly intense, very highly charged global politics. I mean, we are going to be discussing actions involving the U.S. presidency, military conflicts in the Middle East, the historical territorial disputes in the South Atlantic between Argentina and the U.K., and, you know, other sensitive geopolitical flashpoints.
Yeah, heavy stuff.
Very heavy. So let us be explicitly clear right up front. We are not here to take a side.
No, absolutely not.
We are not endorsing these views, and we are absolutely not here to validate the politics of any nation or any individual we mention. Our job today is strictly to unpack what the sources claim happened and how those claims theoretically connect to the business of international football.
Right. We're just impartial reporters today. We're holding up a magnifying glass to the data, nothing more. But the roadmap for this deep dive, I mean, it's going to take us to some wild places.
It really is.
We're going to look at actual military warships deployed over a match. We're going to examine this, frankly, comical disparity in training facilities and dig into the financial mechanics of a $6 trillion dark betting market.
And we'll look at how Messi's 5 historical records were achieved under these allegedly orchestrated circumstances.
Okay, let's unpack this, because we need to start where the real world and the pitch collide in, like the most literal, dangerous way possible.
The geopolitical battlefield.
Right. Specifically, the 2026 match between Argentina and England. Because according to the sources, this wasn't just a slide tackle or a bad offside call.
No, not at all.
We are talking about literal naval warships.
Yes. To understand how this alleged script functions, you first have to understand how the boundaries between state conflict and sporting competition have, according to our sources, just completely evaporated.
Yeah.
To grasp the gravity of that 2026 match, you really have to look at the atmosphere before a single player even stepped out of the tunnel. The sources detail that the Argentine vice president actually went on social media before the game.
Right, and they posted a very public message.
Exactly. And it explicitly reframed the entire event. The players were told by their own government's second-in-command that they weren't playing a football game. They were fighting, quote, thieves and colonizers who stole their land.
They're talking about the Falkland Islands there.
Right.
Like the territory that the UK and Argentina actually fought a war over back in 1982.
Yes, the Islas Malvinas, as they are known in Argentina. And by using that rhetoric, a sitting vice president resurrects a decades-old military conflict and places the entire emotional weight of it directly onto the football team. Calling the opposing nation colonizers hours before kickoff completely changes the psychological parameters. It weaponizes the sport.
I mean, just think about it for a second. Have you ever let a sports rivalry ruin your afternoon? Like, your team loses a playoff game and you're just grumpy at dinner, you know?
Oh, absolutely.
Maybe you snap at a coworker the next day. Now, imagine that rivalry involving actual naval deployments, because that is exactly what the sources say happened next.
Right.
After England was defeated, and by the way, Messi provided some crucial assists to seal that win, the reaction wasn't just, you know, sad fans in London pubs.
No.
The sources state that the British military actually deployed a warship to breach Argentine shores.
What's fascinating here is the sheer scale of that escalation.
It's insane.
A sporting result catalyzed a physical military response from a nuclear-armed state. It vividly demonstrates that the sport is no longer contained within the stadium. But the aggression wasn't just naval posturing. It played out intensely on the pitch itself.
Yeah, the sources mention that fans started violently clashing in the streets literally the second they left the stadium doors. Just immediate raw anger.
And on the grass, it was just as brutal.
Right. Let's look at the stats the sources pull up here. The British press released this comprehensive report after the game detailing exactly 31 fouls committed by Argentina during that single match. 31.
We really need to contextualize that number so you can understand what it means for the flow of a game. A match is 90 minutes long.
Right.
31 fouls means the referee is blowing the whistle and completely stopping play roughly every 2.5 to 3 minutes for an infraction by one specific team.
Which is just, I mean, that completely destroys any rhythm.
It does. And the report categorized these not just as physical clashes or late tackles. They were categorized as deliberate insults, aggressive instigations, and a sustained campaign of psychological pressure applied directly to the English players and the referee.
It's like a proxy war playing out on a 100-yard patch of grass. You aren't just trying to score, you're trying to physically and mentally break the opponent.
Exactly.
And then, the grand finale of this match. The final whistle blows, Argentina wins. Do they just shake hands and go celebrate?
No, they do not.
No. The Argentine players themselves publicly taunt the English fans. The sources describe them unfurling this massive banner right on the pitch, claiming the Falkland Islands belong to Argentina, and insulting Britain as a colonizing state.
The players themselves holding it up for the cameras.
Yeah.
Which brings us directly to the concept of international sporting governance, or rather the glaring lack of it in specific instances.
Right, the double standard.
Yes, because in a heavily regulated international tournament, a massive political banner brought onto the pitch by the players should, under normal circumstances, trigger an immediate and severe disciplinary response from FIFA.
And this is the perfect pivot, honestly. Let's get into the second major theme our sources hammer home here. Because history shows us that FIFA usually operates with this absolute iron fist when it comes to politics, right?
Historically, yes, very much so.
Like if you even breathe a political statement near a pitch, they crush you.
FIFA has fiercely defended a strict zero-tolerance policy regarding political signals. Their foundational argument is that football must remain a neutral sanctuary, isolated from global conflicts.
Right.
Our sources provide a very lengthy catalog of this iron fist in action just to establish the baseline of how FIFA normally operates.
Yeah, let's run through this list because it paints a really clear picture of the rule book.
Yeah.
You have Egypt's Mohamed Aboutrika, who is this absolute legend in African football.
Right.
During a match, he scores, lists his jersey, and reveals an undershirt expressing solidarity with Gaza. What happens? Immediate yellow card.
Then you have the situation with the Swiss national players, Granit Xhaka and Ekstradan Shaqiri, who both have Kosovar-Albanian heritage.
Oh, yeah, I remember this one.
During a highly charged match against Serbia, a nation with a very bloody history regarding Kosovo, both players scored. And in their celebrations, they made a double eagle gesture with their hands.
Which is an Albanian nationalist symbol?
Exactly, a recognized symbol. FIFA did not hesitate. They immediately launched a disciplinary investigation and fined both players heavily for manifesting a political symbol.
Or look at the Spanish national team. The sources note that Spanish players were literally suspended for chanting about the Strait of Gibraltar, claiming it should belong to Spain rather than the UK.
Yes.
And it's not just the players, right? Look at the Qatar World Cup. There were official threats of strict sanctions against fans entering the stadiums just for wearing Palestinian scarves. Yeah. They literally policed the clothing of the spectators.
The historical precedent our sources outline is incredibly consistent, regardless of the political ideology being expressed.
Right, it goes both ways.
Exactly. Italian player Paolo Di Canio faced severe suspensions for a fascist Roman salute. An Egyptian player, Ahmed Abdel Zahir, was entirely banned from the Club World Cup simply for making the Rabah sign, which is associated with political protests.
Wow, an entire ban.
Another Egyptian player, Salah Amin, was suspended and heavily fined for making a pro-Sisi sign supporting the Egyptian president. The message has always been unequivocal. The pitch is not a political billboard.
Okay, so the precedent is set in stone. If you bring politics into the stadium, FIFA hits you with fines, suspensions, bans. The rule book is clear.
Until it isn't.
Right, because then we get to the 2026 World Cup. After defeating Egypt, Messi and the entire Argentine team go back to the locker room. The cameras are rolling. They start belting out muchachos, which the sources describe as a highly political anthem specifically referencing the British occupation of the Falklands.
Yes.
It's deeply rooted in the conflict we just talked about. The video goes viral. Everyone is waiting for the hammer to drop, the fines, the statements, and crickets.
Nothing at all.
FIFA does absolutely nothing. No fines, no statements.
This glaring inconsistency is where our sources introduce the core concept of the script. The justification provided by these analysts isn't that FIFA somehow missed a viral video.
Right, they definitely saw it.
Or that the rules were rewritten. The sources claim the lack of punishment was entirely deliberate because the Argentine team, and specifically Messi, are protected assets.
Wow.
According to this theory, you do not punish the star of the show. You let it slide because, quote, it's in the script.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though, because I have to push back a little. It's one thing to ignore a song in a locker room, right? You could argue it's behind closed doors.
Sure.
But the lack of punishment for the song is one thing. What they allege happened with the United States team is just staggering. It goes way beyond ignoring a song.
You are referring to the direct political intervention regarding the Fuller-Belgian incident.
Yes. Let's look at this. USA versus Bosnia and Herzegovina. Crucial World Cup qualifier match. Tensions are super high. Fuller-Belgian, the star U.S. striker, goes into a challenge and violently stomps on an opponent's leg.
Yes.
The sources show the images. It looks incredibly dangerous.
Yeah.
A potential leg breaker. The referee does exactly what the FIFA rulebook mandates. He immediately pulls out a straight red card.
As he should.
Belogin is ejected, and by the fundamental rules of football, he must be suspended for at least the next match. That is non-negotiable, right?
Under any normal circumstances, you are completely correct. A straight red card for violent conduct mandates an automatic suspension. There is no appeals process that simply forgives violence.
Exactly.
But our sources detail a direct, unprecedented intervention from the absolute highest level of American politics. Former U.S. President Donald Trump reportedly called FIFA President Gianni Infantino directly.
A direct phone call.
Yes, to demand that the red card and the subsequent suspension be entirely canceled.
Wait, you're telling me a political figure just picked up the phone and overrode a global sporting regulation like he was calling a restaurant manager to complain about a table?
It highlights the exact vulnerability the sources are pointing to.
How does that even work administratively? FIFA is an independent body in Switzerland?
Well, the structure of FIFA relies heavily on the cooperation and goodwill of host nations and superpowers. And the craziest part of this narrative is that Infantino actually complies with the demand.
He just says, okay.
But he does not simply erase the red card from the books. Doing so would completely undermine the authority of every referee globally. So, according to the sources, he utilized a bizarre bureaucratic loophole.
A loophole for a straight red card. How?
The sources claim Infantino released a statement affirming that FIFA respected the rules and the referee's decision. The red card was valid.
Okay.
However, he decreed that FIFA would suspend the implementation of the punishment for 1 full year in order to, quote, monitor the player's behavior.
Are you kidding me? Which is the most hilarious, transparently corporate non-answer ever conceived.
It is quite creative.
Yes, he committed a violent foul.
Yeah.
Yes, we are punishing him. We're just going to wait 365 days, conveniently, until the tournament he desperately needs to play in is completely over, to actually enforce it.
Exactly.
It's absurd. It allowed Belogin to step right back onto the pitch for the very next crucial match. And we know this backroom deal happened because the sources note that Trump actually went out and publicly bragged about making the phone call.
He did.
He used his ability to bend FIFA to his will
Right.
as a talking point to boost his presidential campaign.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the concept of the script becomes much clearer and much more systemic. It's not merely about a referee having a subjective bias toward one team.
Well,
It is about an overarching infrastructure designed to protect the tournament's VIP assets. Whether that asset is a transcendent global star player like Messi, a host nation's crucial striker like Belogin, or a specific, highly profitable narrative arc. The system ensures the desired narrative moves forward, completely regardless of the established rulebook or the concept of fair play.
it's treating the rules as mere suggestions. You know,
Yeah.
They apply strictly to the extras, the background characters in the movie. But the leading actors get a totally different rulebook,
Precisely.
which leads us perfectly into the next major piece of evidence in our sources. Because if you want to see how the leading actors are treated compared to the extras, You don't just look at the refereeing.
You look at the resource.
You look at where they sleep. You look at how they train. Let's look at the physical reality of inequality here.
The massive disparity in the training facilities provided to different nations during this tournament is perhaps the most glaring, tangible piece of evidence the source is present regarding predetermined advantages.
It's visual proof, basically.
Exactly. We have to deeply examine the infrastructure provided to Argentina, the alleged protagonists, versus the setup allocated to a team like Egypt.
Okay, let's look at Argentina's setup. And I have to call it a fortress, because calling it a training camp feels like a joke.
It's beyond a camp.
They were stationed at the Compass Minerals National Performance Center in Kansas City. Let me just read off some of the specs our sources dug up on this place. It sits on 52 acres of land.
52 acres.
It's the permanent home of the MLS team Sporting KC. And our sources point out this very specific detail. It was built by the exact same architectural firm that designed the billion-dollar Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in London.
Right.
And the Lusail Stadium in Qatar, where the 2022 World Cup final was played. This isn't just a field, it's an architectural marvel.
The technological and medical specifications of this facility are genuinely staggering. It is designed to optimize human performance down to the cellular level.
Literally.
It contains 3 full-size pitches outfitted with advanced specialized turf. But more importantly, it houses technical analysis rooms where every single movement on the pitch is captured by an array of cameras connected directly to artificial intelligence.
AI cameras tracking everything.
Yes. This AI processes the biomechanical data and provides real-time tactical and physical feedback to the coaching staff. They know a player's fatigue levels, sprint speeds, and positioning instantly.
And the medical tech. This is the part that just blew my mind. When I played sports, recovery meant sitting in a plastic tub full of ice and taking some ibuprofen.
The standard protocol.
Yeah. Argentina's medical wing looks like a sci-fi movie. They have advanced hydrotherapy pools. The sources detail how these pools are designed so that injured players can be treated and exercise their cardiovascular system in the water without even having to bear weight or bend their injured leg.
It accelerates recovery tremendously.
And then there are the altitude simulation chambers.
That is a critical biological advantage.
Explain that one, because it's wild.
Well, the United States is a massive country with varying elevations. By utilizing these altitude simulation chambers, the medical staff can precisely control the oxygen levels the players breathe.
Okay.
This allows them to perfectly match the atmospheric conditions of whatever city they are traveling to for their next match.
So they adjust before they even leave.
Exactly. The players' bodies, specifically their red blood cell counts, are biologically adapted to the exact altitude before they even board the airplane. They suffer no altitude sickness or fatigue upon arrival.
That is just insane. And if they get a dead leg or a deep bone bruise during a match, they don't just rub dirt on it. They pop the players into high-pressure hyperbaric chambers.
Yes.
The sources explain that these chambers pump 100% pure oxygen into the environment under increased atmospheric pressure.
Huh.
Why? Because it forces oxygen directly into the blood plasma.
It drastically accelerates cellular repair.
It heals damaged tissue and rapidly clears out lactic acid. You go in exhausted and battered, you come out biologically renewed and ready to sprint for another 90 minutes.
Furthermore, the security apparatus surrounding this 52-acre complex, as described by the sources, is more akin to a military installation than an athletic facility.
The sources literally say the security was described as being, quote, closer to the White House. They had active anti-drone technology monitoring the airspace above the pitches to prevent any opposing teams or journalists from spying on their tactics.
Anti-drone tech for a football practice.
Yeah. They had armored vehicles parked on site to protect against potential explosive threats. They had actual snipers positioned on the rooftops.
It's quite the image.
If you were a credentialed member of the global press, just trying to cover the team, you had to park your car 1,000 meters away from the facility.
A full kilometer.
You get searched thoroughly there. You get put onto a secure, heavily monitored shuttle bus. You get driven to the outer gate, and then you get searched again. It was impenetrable.
And beyond the physical security and the medical technology, the sources note how deeply the environment was curated for psychological comfort.
Yeah, keeping them happy.
The mental state of the players is a massive variable in performance. The environment was meticulously designed to prevent any feelings of homesickness, anxiety, or stress.
Right. The sources mentioned they flew in a whole team of dedicated, specialized Argentine chefs.
Just for the team.
Their only job, their sole purpose for being in Kansas City, was to host massive traditional asado BBQ parties. They brought in specific cuts of meat. The goal was to keep Messi and the rest of the squad happy, relaxed, and feeling like they were just hanging out in a backyard in Buenos Aires, rather than in the middle of a high-pressure global tournament.
Now, you must contrast that 52-acre, heavily militarized, AI-driven, hyperbaric compound with the facility allocated to the Egyptian national team.
Now, hold on, let me set this up, because this is where it just gets, frankly, sad, and where I have to ask a serious question to you listening.
Go ahead.
If FIFA is supposed to be this neutral, egalitarian governing body that ensures fair play and a level playing field, how do they justify what happened to Egypt?
It's a stark contrast.
Egypt gets sent to Gonzaga University in Spokane, Washington. Now, no disrespect to Gonzaga, they are a fantastic basketball school. But according to the detailed maps and reports in our sources, to find the pitch Egypt was supposed to train on, you literally had to walk past the undergraduate lecture halls.
Through the campus.
You wave to the dean's office, you walk past the student affairs building, and you find a basic intramural college football field out in the back. That was it. That was their entire allocated facility for the biggest sporting event on the planet.
The disparity the sources are highlighting here is not merely about luxury or prestige. It is fundamentally about biological, tactical, and psychological readiness.
It's exactly like asking one person to run a marathon in a pair of cheap plastic flip-flops, while the other guy is wearing carbon-plated rocket-propelled jet boots. How is this even considered the same sport?
It isn't the same sport, and that is the exact point the sources are making regarding the reality of the script.
Yeah.
This level of profound inequality guarantees a physical mismatch before the referee even blows the whistle for kickoff. It ensures that the stars of the script, the VIP assets like Argentina, are biologically superior, fully recovered, tactically optimized by AI, and psychologically at ease by game day.
While the other team is basically playing in flip-flops.
Meanwhile, their opponents are essentially training like college amateurs, dealing with poor recovery, standard facilities, and a complete lack of advanced athletic support.
So we have established the military tension surrounding the games, the political immunity granted to certain teams and players, and the massive biological advantages engineered before the games even start.
Yes.
But the big question remains, why? What is the engine driving this massive, complex operation? Why would anyone go to these insane lengths to script a sports tournament?
That brings us to the absolute core thesis of our deep dive, the $50 billion cashier.
So what does this all mean? Let's get into the money.
To truly understand the motivations behind the script, you have to completely detach yourself from the romance of the sport. We must look exclusively at the financial architecture of modern football, specifically the absolute explosion of the global betting markets.
Right.
This is where the true power lies.
The numbers the sources provide here are just dizzying. They state that the legal betting on the World Cup jumped from roughly $35 billion during the Qatar tournament in 2022 to a staggering $50 billion for the USA-hosted tournament in 2026.
A massive leap.
Let that sink in for a second.
Okay.
$50 billion riding on people tapping their phones while sitting on their couches.
And how did FIFA, the entity that controls the product, respond to this massive, unprecedented influx of betting capital?
Well, according to the sources, it was the format change, right?
Exactly. The highly publicized decision to expand the 2026 tournament format, increasing the number of games from the traditional 64 matches up to a sprawling 104 matches, was not about growing the game globally, as the PR campaigns suggested.
Right.
It was not about giving smaller, developing nations a chance to shine on the world stage. It was a purely calculated financial move designed specifically to create more betting inventory.
More games equals more bets.
More matches directly equal more opportunities for wagers, which generates more revenue for the gambling syndicates.
And it's not just about betting on who wins or loses anymore, right? Like, the days of just picking the winner of the match are over.
Long over.
The sources describe the modern football pitch as a massive, high-speed supermarket. You aren't just buying the final score. You are betting on hundreds of micro-events, which they call prop bets.
Precisely. The complexity of the betting market is where the true manipulation can occur.
Yeah.
Bettors are wagering massive sums on the exact number of yellow cards the referee will hand out. They are betting on the total number of red cards. They are gambling on the total number of corner kicks in the first half, the number of penalties awarded, the exact minute of the game a goal will be scored.
the specific player who will score it.
Even the exact number of saves a goalkeeper will make by the final whistle.
The analogy the source uses here is brilliant. Think of the pitch as the cashier's till, right?
Yes, the supermarket analogy.
The players running around are just the employees scanning the items.
Yeah.
And the referee, he's the store manager, actively making sure the script runs smoothly and the right items get scanned.
That's exactly it.
Every single time the ball goes out of bounds for a corner kick, it is a financial transaction. Every yellow card pulled from a pocket is a stock market fluctuation. It's Wall Street in shorts and cleats.
But the $50 billion flowing through the regulated legal market is only the visible tip of the iceberg.
Oh man, yeah.
The sources direct our attention to a much darker, vastly more powerful force, the illegal global betting market.
The dark market. And the number the source is attached to this is hard to even wrap your head around. $6 trillion annually.
$6 trillion?
With a T.
This dark market encompasses illegal sports betting, but it also bleeds heavily into global geopolitics and conflict.
Wait, geopolitics, how does that work?
The sources mention that on these unregulated platforms, people are placing massive bets on the exact number of Iranian missiles that might be fired in a specific Middle Eastern conflict.
Wow.
They are betting on whether the Strait of Hormuz will be closed to international shipping. It is a vast, unregulated, shadow financial casino where absolutely everything is commodified.
And this is where the sources connect the dots to actual criminality. They allege that this $6 trillion dark market is heavily utilized for international money laundering.
Yes, it's a primary function.
Cartels, corrupt businessmen, global syndicates, they are using cryptocurrency to place massive, entirely untraceable bets on these football micro-events to wash their dirty money.
Let me explain exactly how this mechanism works because it is vital to understanding the scale of the issue.
Please do.
Imagine a cartel needs to clean $10 million in illicit cryptocurrency. They can go to an unregulated offshore betting site. They create two opposing accounts. They place $5 million on Team A to receive over 4 yellow cards, and they place the other $5 million on Team A to receive under 4 yellow cards.
So they are betting against themselves.
Exactly. Regardless of what happens in the match, one of those bets will undeniably win.
Right.
The betting site, the house, takes a standard VIG, perhaps a 5% margin. The cartel loses $500,000 to the house, but they withdraw $9.5 million in completely clean, verifiable gambling winnings.
Oh my God.
The money is now washed. It can be taxed, deposited in legitimate banks, and used in the legitimate global economy. The football match simply served as the laundry machine.
Wow. Okay, so that explains how the dark money uses the sport. But how does the script interact with these massive sums of money in the legal market? Like, how do the script writers ensure they make a profit?
The fundamental unbreakable rule of any casino, whether it is a legal sportsbook in Las Vegas or an illegal dark web platform, is that the house must always win.
Right.
The major stakeholders, the syndicates, the mega investors, and the entities who the sources allege have profound influence over FIFA's operations require the vast majority of regular individual bettors to lose their money.
The little guys.
Yeah.
You and me placing $20 on our favorite team.
Exactly. The sources provide a perfect example regarding the World Cup final. Going into that match, the betting public heavily favored Spain to win.
Yeah, they were the favorites.
The data shows that 61% of all individual bets placed on FanDuel and 58% of all bets on Caliente were placed on Spain. If Spain wins the match, the house, meaning the betting companies, has to pay out hundreds of millions of dollars to all those individual bettors. They take a massive financial hit.
So the house desperately needs the unexpected outcome. They need the scripted upset. They need the team that everyone bet against to somehow pull off a miracle so the house can keep all that wagered money.
Yes, they need the statistical anomaly.
And the sources point to the Egypt versus Argentina match as the ultimate, undeniable proof of this manipulation in action.
Let us deeply examine the mechanics of that specific match, exactly as described to the sources, because it illustrates the enforcement of the script perfectly.
Let's do it.
For the first 80 minutes, Egypt was completely dominating the game. They successfully saved a penalty kick taken by Lionel Messi himself.
Which never happens.
They scored 3 brilliant goals. They controlled the midfield. They led for the vast majority of the game.
From the perspective of the scriptwriters, Egypt is essentially ruining the movie. They are beating the VIP asset, they are destroying the narrative, and they are threatening the financial payouts.
And then, The final 10 minutes arrive.
Crunch time.
This is the crucial window where the sources claim the script is violently enforced by the officials. The referee, according to the breakdown in the sources, abruptly cancels a completely legitimate legal Egyptian goal for a phantom infraction.
Just wipes it off the board.
Yes. And shortly after this demoralizing blow, the referee awards what the sources explicitly describe as a fake or entirely illegitimate goal to Argentina, ignoring blatant fouls in the buildup.
Wow.
The momentum of the game violently swings, not due to athletic superiority, but entirely due to highly subjective officiating decisions. This manufactured swing allows Argentina to score 2 more goals and completely steal the win in the dying moments of the match.
Wait, hold on. This is where I have to play devil's advocate for a second.
Yeah.
Because I have watched football my entire life, right?
Yeah.
Bad referee calls happen in literally every league, every single weekend. Human error is just part of the sport. Referees are human beings running around a massive pitch. They miss things.
True.
They make mistakes under pressure. How do these sources definitively prove this was a coordinated $50 billion script being executed and not just a referee having a terrible night at the office?
It is a valid skepticism, and frankly, it is the exact defense FIFA would use.
Yeah.
However, the sources counter that argument by pointing to the pattern and the specific timing. It is not just one bad call. It is a rapid succession of highly improbable, statistically anomalous decisions that all exclusively benefit one specific team in the crucial final moments of a knockout match.
The timing is what makes it suspicious.
Furthermore, the sources point out a chilling repetition. The exact same late-game reversal, characterized by highly controversial referee interventions, happened in the Argentina versus England match.
Oh, right.
England is holding their own, playing well, and suddenly in the last 10 minutes, the script flips, the calls drastically change in favor of Argentina, and Argentina magically wins. When the human error consistently, perfectly aligns with the financial needs of the betting syndicates and the geopolitical narrative, the sources argue it ceases to be an error and becomes a strategy.
So this raises an important question, right? Are you telling me that the 80th minute of a football match isn't just crunch time for the athletes, but it's basically a deployed financial weapon?
This raises an important question about who actually owns the outcome of these sporting events.
Yeah.
It is crucial to understand a key distinction here. The sources are not claiming that the players themselves are part of some massive, mustache-twirling criminal conspiracy.
Right. It's not like Messi and the Egyptian defenders are sitting in a smoky back room before kickoff, plotting out exactly who is going to concede a corner kick in the 84th minute.
Exactly. The players are, for the most part, just cogs in a much larger machine. They are out there on the grass playing a genuine, incredibly taxing physical game, genuinely trying to win.
The athletes are being athletes.
The manipulation, the heavy enforcement of the script happens entirely in the margins. It is executed quietly via a canceled goal here, an uncalled foul there, a red card ignored, or a very soft penalty awarded by the referees.
Just tiny nudges.
The referees are the ones adhering to the required narrative, ensuring the house wins and the VIPs advance.
So the players play, but the house ultimately decides the final score.
Yes.
Which brings us perfectly to the climax of this story. Section 5, Messi's final act and the ultimate prize. Because even in a system that is allegedly manipulated by dark money, crypto laundering, and geopolitical pressure, the story still needs a face, doesn't it?
It desperately needs a protagonist.
It needs a hero that the public can rally behind.
From a purely narrative and marketing standpoint, the 2026 World Cup was a masterclass in myth-making for Lionel Messi.
It really was.
The sources highlight that despite all the alleged corruption, the hidden scripts, and the boardroom manipulations, the official history books will record that Messi achieved 5 major, absolutely unprecedented individual records during this single tournament.
Yeah, let's list these off, because when you hear them all together, it really sounds like a superhero's resume written by a Hollywood screenwriter.
It's quite the list.
Record number 1, he became the top assist provider in the entire history of the World Cup, hitting 12 total assists.
Incredible feat.
Record number 2, he scored the most goals in World Cup qualifiers over the last 60 years, racking up 10 goals.
Record number 3, he became only the second player in the long history of the sport to reach 3 separate World Cup finals, playing in 2014, 2022, and 2026.
Unbelievable longevity.
Record number 4, he holds the absolute record for the most World Cup matches ever played by a single human being, stepping onto the pitch an astounding 33 times.
And record number 5, Which brings this whole deep dive full circle and ties all the way back to the warships and the geopolitics we started with.
Right.
Messi became the first Argentina captain to defeat England in regular time since Diego Maradona's infamous Hand of God match back in 1986.
The historical resonance is massive.
I mean, you can't write it any better. It is perfectly poetic.
It is, exactly as the sources suggest, a perfectly written final act. It hits every emotional and historical beat required for a legendary sports narrative. But the reward for this scripted victory in 2026 went significantly beyond just breaking records and lifting a gold trophy.
Yeah, this is the part of the sources that feels like it literally belongs in a Marvel movie.
It is very unusual.
For the first time ever in the history of the tournament, FIFA decided that a standard gold medal just wasn't enough to commemorate this specific victory. They introduced a special, massive gold ring.
A ring.
And not just a gold ring, a ring completely encrusted with diamonds,
Yeah.
custom-made specifically for the winning team.
The symbolism of this diamond ring is incredibly potent. The sources argue that it was deliberately designed to mark the winners, and specifically Messi, as immortal, non-ordinary figures.
Right.
In traditional football culture, you win a medal. A massive diamond championship ring is historically an American sports tradition, seen in the Super Bowl or the NBA.
It's very American.
Injecting it into the World Cup is a physical manifestation of their elevated status. It signifies that they have transcended the sport itself and have become royalty within the script.
I am honestly just amazed at the sheer, unapologetic theatricality of it all. Like, even in a system that is allegedly rigged by cartels laundering money and politicians making backroom phone calls, Messi gets the ultimate Hollywood ending.
He does.
He gets the stats, he beats the historical colonizing rival, and he gets a giant diamond ring like he just won the Super Bowl and defeated Thanos at the exact same time. It's a spectacle.
But as analysts, we must look past the spectacle and ask why the script inherently requires this level of theatricality.
Okay, why?
A $50 billion legal betting industry and a $6 trillion dark market cannot operate in the shadows if people stop watching.
Right.
The machine relies entirely on having a highly marketable face. It desperately needs a hero. Messi is exceptionally well compensated. He is allowed, or perhaps facilitated, to break historical records, and he acts as the flawless, mesmerizing protagonist.
The shiny object.
Yes, he provides the beautiful distraction for the billions of viewers worldwide.
He's the ultimate magician's trick, right? While everyone is staring at the shiny diamond ring and the historic stats, no one is looking at the cashier's till or the referee's whistle.
Which brings us to our final thoughts on this massive trove of data, the ultimate reality behind the game.
Yeah. If we take all these sources at face value, and remember, we are just impartial reporters here looking at the claims and the math, the picture is staggering.
It truly is.
Football is no longer the simple, pure game your grandfather used to listen to on a crackling AM radio. It has fundamentally evolved into a highly politicized, unannounced international trade market.
It is a complex ecosystem where the established rules are surprisingly malleable. The rule book bends to accommodate the urgent political needs of world leaders, and it flexes violently in the 80th minute to ensure the financial solvency of massive betting syndicates.
Yeah.
The illusion of fair play is maintained merely to keep the market stable.
The script includes absolutely everyone. It includes the players who are out there providing the sweat and the highlights. It includes the referees who are directing the traffic and enforcing the required narrative in the margins.
Yes.
It includes the trainers and their AI-monitored hyperbaric oxygen chambers. And it includes the politicians making casual phone calls from the Oval Office to rewrite the disciplinary rules. It's a massive interconnected web.
But there is one final crucial piece of the puzzle that we have yet to mention. The single most important engine that powers the entire $50 billion machine.
And this is where we turn our attention directly to you, the listener. Because the ultimate reality that these sources point to is that the most indispensable element of this entire operation isn't Lionel Messi. It isn't Donald Trump. It isn't the shadowy cartels laundering crypto. And it isn't the tech guy programming the AI cameras in Kansas City.
The most important element of the script is you, the viewer.
The entire system, the billions of dollars, the political maneuvering, it all relies completely on your emotional investment. Without your eyeballs, the market crashes.
It ceases to exist.
So we want to leave you with this provocative thought to chew on. Even knowing everything we just talked about.
Yes.
Even knowing the mechanics of how the match might be heavily influenced by outside forces. Even knowing that the referee might be actively following a predetermined script and that the plucky underdog you are cheering for is statistically financially meant to lose in the 80th minute to save a betting syndicate millions of dollars.
Will you still tune in on Sunday?
Because as long as we all keep sitting in the dark, eating our popcorn and watching the movie, the studio is going to keep writing the script. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
And until next time.
Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Let's just jump right in, because today we are unpacking a source's truly explosive claims about the 2026 World Cup. The analysis we're looking at treats the entire tournament a lot like a Van Gogh painting, you know? Like, when you're standing right up close to it, it just looks chaotic, bizarre, and maybe even a little messy. But when you zoom out, those chaotic strokes start to reveal a massive, meticulously designed and hidden financial picture. And that brings us to the core question we're exploring today. What actually happens when football becomes a $50 billion script? The source's central premise here is just staggering. They argue that every single corner kick, every unpunished foul, and every miraculous last-minute goal isn't just spontaneous sports magic. Instead, they claim it's all part of a massive, pre-written financial narrative that is literally designed to extract billions. You're going to hear this reoccurring phrase from the source material a lot. It's in the script. Whenever something seemingly inexplicable happened out on the pitch, say a referee completely ignoring a blatant foul or a sudden, crazy reversal of fortune, the source argues there's really only one explanation. It was written that way. So let's look at the first layer of this iceberg, starting with the really bizarre politically charged anomalies that happened right out in the open. Part 1. The on-pitch political bias. The source points directly to that fiercely contested match between Argentina and England. According to the report, Argentina committed 31 completely unpunished fouls. But get this, it goes way beyond just physical play. The analysis highlights that Argentine players provoked English fans with a massive banner calling Britain colonizers over the Falkland Islands. This actually mirrored pre-match rhetoric, where the Argentine vice president allegedly referred to the English team as thieves who stole their land. The fallout was so intense, the source claims a British military ship even breached Argentine coasts immediately after England's defeat. Now, historically, FIFA has been notoriously strict about political gestures, right? Egypt's Abu Trika showed solidarity with Gaza, punished. The Swiss players Xhaka and Shaqiri making the double-headed eagle gesture, fined. Italy's Di Canio, punished. But in 2026, when Messi and his team allegedly sang a highly political song about the Falkland Islands in the locker room right after the Egypt match, FIFA's response was absolute silence. The source asks, why the sudden leniency? Well, because, they argue, it's in the script. And apparently this political interference goes all the way to the top. The report recounts a genuinely startling claim about American player Forlorn Balogun, who received a red card for a violent tackle. Normally, this means an automatic, non-negotiable suspension. End of story. However, the source states Donald Trump directly phoned FIFA President Gianni Infantino to intervene. The results? Infantino publicly suspended the punishment for an entire year, which allowed Balogun to play in the very next match. The source notes Trump even bragged about this publicly to boost his election popularity, while FIFA just completely bent its most fundamental rules. Which brings us to Section 2, a tale of two facilities. So, dipping just below the surface, the source highlights this staggering contrast in training camps. On the left, Argentina is allocated the Compass Minerals National Performance Center in Kansas City. It's a sprawling, 52-acre, state-of-the-art mega complex. On the right, we have the facility allocated to the Egyptian national team, literally a tiny basic backyard field at Gonzaga University, a small college up in Spokane. The disparity here is just hard to overstate. Let's look a little closer at what Argentina actually got, because the source details a level of luxury and medical advantage that is honestly mind-blowing. Built by the exact same designers as the Tottenham and Lusail stadiums, this 52-acre facility featured 100% pure oxygen hyperbaric chambers for rapid healing. It had specialized altitude simulation rooms. Injured players enjoyed hydrotherapy pools with hydraulic lifts, meaning they didn't even have to bend their knees to get in the water. It was equipped with AI-connected tactical cameras analyzing every single movement. Security was likened to the White House, featuring anti-drone units and literal snipers on the roof. Oh, and they even imported a whole crew of traditional asado barbecue chefs to make sure the players felt perfectly at home. So picture this, with one team recovering in hyperbaric chambers and the other training on a small college backyard field. The source asks a fascinating question. How on earth did Egypt still manage to score 3 goals and save a penalty against Messi? According to the narrative, Egypt was actually leading the match, but in the final 10 minutes, the referee stepped in to enforce the script. The source claims the ref canceled a completely valid Egyptian goal and counted an invalid Argentine goal, miraculously flipping the match result right at the death to ensure the predetermined winner advanced. Section 3. Messi's Records and Diamond Ring. The source argues this extreme preferential treatment was all designed to cement one specific player's legacy. They detail 5 specific FIFA records Messi broke in 2026. Most goals in qualifiers over 60 years, becoming the second player to reach 3 World Cup finals, breaking the record with 33 World Cup appearances, the most assists in history with 12, and becoming the first Argentine captain to beat England in regular time since Diego Maradona. The source argues the script perfectly rewarded him here, ensuring the tournament produced this legendary, mythic narrative that global fans would just devour. But the reward for following the script wasn't just records. The source highlights the 2026 World Cup ring. This was an unprecedented, first-of-its-kind bespoke golden diamond ring awarded by FIFA to the winners. According to the analysis, this wasn't just a nice piece of jewelry. It was created to physically brand the scripted winners as literal legends. It's a permanent symbol of an elevated, almost godlike status that further sells the illusion of the game. Section 4. The $50 billion script. So why do underdogs suddenly lose in the last 10 minutes? The answer, according to the source, lies in this staggering number, $50 billion. This represents the massive legal betting volume for the 2026 World Cup alone. The source claims that the big stakeholders, the massive investors who allegedly exert control over FIFA, only win when the millions of small everyday bettors lose. By scripting a last-minute comeback, you completely wipe out the millions of people who placed bets on the underdog, funneling all that money straight to the top. To put that into perspective, consider this massive leap in betting money. In Qatar 2022, the betting volume was $35 billion. In America 2026, it jumped to $50 billion. The source points out that FIFA explicitly expanded the 2026 tournament from 64 matches to 104 matches. Why? Well, the analysis suggests it was specifically designed to capture this massive surge in betting revenue. More matches equals more bets, which equals more profit for the house. And it's not just about who wins or loses anymore. We've entered what the analysis calls the new supermarket of betting products. Beyond your traditional bets, you can now bet on the number of yellow or red cards, the total corner kicks, the exact minute a goal is scored, or exactly how many saves a goalkeeper makes. Every single on-field action is now heavily monetized. The source paints this picture where referees essentially act as cashiers, blowing their whistles just to ensure these highly specific microscripts are fulfilled. Moving on to Section 5, the global betting underworld. According to the analysis, this $50 billion legal market is really just a front for something much darker. The source breaks down how gangs and corrupt businessmen allegedly launder money through these micro-bets. Here's the step-by-step process they outline. Step 1. Illegal syndicates take massive bets using untraceable cryptocurrencies. Step 2. These bets are placed on highly specific, scripted micro-events, say a red card happening in the 72nd minute. Step 3. Corrupt referees ensure that specific event actually occurs on the pitch. And Step 4, the massive payout is delivered, effectively laundering vast amounts of illicit, dirty money right under our noses on global television. Now hit this macro view and let it sink in. $6 trillion. The source claims the annual illegal betting market has reached an astonishing $6 trillion globally. And this isn't just sports anymore either. This underworld encompasses wagers on massive geopolitical events, like betting on the exact details of conflicts, like the Iran war. The football script, they argue, is just one highly visible cog in a much larger global financial machine. Finally, Section 6, the reality of the game. The analysis concludes with these pretty heavy takeaways summarizing the cynical view of modern football. Football, they argue, is no longer a sport. It is an unannounced international trade. Double standards are ruthlessly enforced to protect financial and political interests, just like we saw with the blind eye to political gestures or Trump's phone call. Matches are allegedly written exactly like TV shows, complete with a script, actors on the pitch, and directors up in the boardroom. Everyone gets paid in the system, the players get their historic records, and the stakeholders pocket their billions. But the most vital piece, the entire multi-trillion-dollar system relies absolutely entirely on the viewer believing the illusion. Which leads us to the final, lingering question posed by the source material. We've looked at the claims of rigged matches, the staggering disparity in facilities, the money laundering, and the $50 billion motive driving it all. If the beautiful game is truly just a heavily orchestrated financial machine, a scripted show where the results are predetermined by billionaires, now that you know the script, will you keep watching? It is definitely a provocative thought that makes you question everything you see out on the pitch. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning what you see.